On to this story now. The North Gauteng High Court will this morning rule on whether other SAA board members should be included in Dudu Myeni's case. Now, the organization Undoing Tax Abuse wants the court to declare Myeni a delinquent director. It's accusing Myeni of making questionable decisions as chairperson and insists she is more answerable than the rest of the board. Well, eNCA's Heidi Giokos is following this story, and she joins us in studio this morning. Good morning, Heidi.
Good morning.
So, what's the likelihood of other board of directors at the time that Dudu Myeni was board chairperson, them being possibly added to the list of those that may be declared delinquent directors?
Well, we're going to have to wait and see what the judge decides on at 10 o'clock this morning. Judge Ronald Tolme, who's been presiding over the matter since about mid-October. But basically what Dudu Myeni's legal team is arguing is that Dudu Myeni was not the only board member. Just because she was chairperson does not mean she was the only board member, and that when she made certain decisions, other board members would have to agree or disagree, and majority of them would agree to that. And this is why they feel as though she should not be held accountable for all the wrong decisions, if one could put it that way, and that other board members should be included in that. However, OUTA argued that they are saying she made certain decisions. She misled Parliament. She misled Public Enterprises Department at the time. And that's why she should be held accountable, and she should be declared as a delinquent director and not other board members. So the judge is going to have to decide on whether or not it's fair to only include Dudu Myeni in this case, or if other board members should be included in that.
Just out of interest, Hardy, purely out of curiosity, members of the public are probably asking themselves, could possibly any of the current serving board members at SAA have been part of that regime that was led by Dudu Myeni at the time?
Well, that's the big question, given the fact that just because you're the chairperson, surely you need to have some kind of votes. Surely there needs to be some kind of understanding or agreement between board members. The question here is should Dudu Myeni be the only person that should be held accountable, given the fact that she is the chairperson, she's the highest in the board? But as I say again, just because you're the chairperson doesn't mean the buck basically stops with you. There are other people that also need to answer, and it's basically saying, okay, you were a board member, Dudu Myeni made the decisions, but as a board member, did you not have a say? Did you not say, hold up, this is not what we should be doing, this is not right, these decisions shouldn't be made, we shouldn't be going into these procurement deals? Because that's the issue here, is that Dudu Myeni went into certain procurement deals costing the airline billions, and that's possibly one of the reasons why we find the airline in such a difficult financial situation. When we were at the strike about 2 weeks ago, a number of workers were actually saying this is Dudu Myeni's fault. They were saying that she just went ahead on certain procurement deals, pushing for certain companies that made no financial sense. They gave me an example of bottled water. They were saying SAA is paying millions for bottled water when there can be a cheaper option, but it seems as though the board at the time was pushing for that specific procurement deal. So it's questions like that that perhaps the judge needs to look further into to decide whether or not it was just Dudu Myeni or if other board members should be included.
Just very quickly touching on the issue of the strike, the recent strike at SAA, the Minister of Public Enterprises issues a statement through his department saying that the airline is going to go through a radical restructuring phase and that South Africans must support it. What does this mean in practical terms?
That's exactly the question I asked the minute I saw that statement, because from our understanding, the unions came to an agreement with the airline to say we are going to stop retrenchment processes for now. Does that mean part of this radical restructuring process that the minister is speaking about, will that include re-implementing the retrenchment that was set to happen early next year? The big issue here is the fact that the minister keeps saying this. SAA cannot carry on in its current form. He said this about 3 to 4 times in the last week or so. So we do understand that the minister is expected to announce something with regards to SAA this week. He did say that last week, and he's pushing. He's marketing the airline and saying people should continue buying. But as you mentioned as well in the statement, that the strike had severe impact on the airline.
Yeah, Heidi Giokos, thank you very much following that story. story, that SAA story. We'll see whether it means that we, the taxpayers, again, will have to bail out SAA.